Okay, we're going to do a very quick demo on how to create a vignette in the background of your animal. Okay, so I have my animal here. I got a bird. I like my bird. I think it's cool. Um, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a background. Okay, I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to go over here to the rectangle tool. Let's just make a background color. What color should I choose? I don't know. My fill is at nothing, so let's change that to a color. I don't like that color, so what I tend to do, first thing I tend to do is I just double click on the layer here, and then I get this eyedropper tool, and I just pick colors that are already in there. I think that's a good starting point. So I may want to go lighter and think like, oh, you know, that may be kind of cool. Maybe go with the orange, and then go lighter there. Don't really like that. Let's go to the blue. I'm going to knock it down into the yellows. Oh, you know what? I don't really know. Nor do I want to take the time to kind of go and find the exact right color that I like. So I'm going to leave it like right here. And then go with like kind of like a robin's egg blue or something. I don't know. I think it's fine. So the next step, now that I have my rectangle layer, is I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to go to my marquee tool, which is right here. If you don't see it and it looks like an ellipse tool, it's the one right here. Just hold down your mouse and you'll see it. And I'm going to select a small section of the top, like maybe something like that. I'm going to click on the gradient tool, and if you don't see the gradient tool, it's because it's beneath your paint bucket tool, because I think it defaults to paint bucket tool, but gradient tool. Now click on up here, and you're going to see a couple things. This needs to be linear gradient, like that. Not radial gradient, not angle gradient, not reflected gradient, linear gradient. That just means it's going to go from one color to transparent or any other color, right? Now, if I click on here, I'm going to go from a color to, and you can see that the transparency is turned all the way down to nothing over here. So if I click on that, it's zero opacity, so it's going to fade out entirely, right? That's good. What's bad is this color. This color doesn't work. What we want is a darker version of this color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click right here, and I'm going to select this color. Okay. Now I'm going to make it a little darker, maybe something like right there. Okay. I also need to do that same thing over here because I don't know if you can tell, right? This is a green, and even though the opacity is really low, it's still fading from blue to green. And right here, if you can see right in the center, there's a little green in there, and that's from this color. So this color also needs to be changed to that same thing. You don't need to be exact, but close enough's fine. And now that green in the very center of that gradient is gone. Okay, so I hit OK. On my layer I've created, I'm going to click drag down, go from the very top, maybe not all the way to the very bottom, like something like just like that. Okay, deselect. By holding down Command D, you're going to select deselect. Okay, I can look right now and kind of go, do I like that? Do I not like that? I'll make it a little bit bigger. I think that's kind of cool. Now, I'm going to hold down the Option key. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag down. Okay, now I've duplicated it. Notice that when I hold down the Option key, it turns into two arrows. When I click and drag, it duplicates anything. I got my gradient down here. I'm going to go to Edit, Transform. I'm going to go to Flip Vertical. Now I'm going to click, do the same thing, Option, click, drag, and now I'm going to transform it by going to Command T on your keyboard or Edit Free Transform. I'm going to rotate it. Holding down Shift will keep it to where it's absolutely straight up and down. It kind of goes in these increments here, and so I can make sure it's perfectly straight up and down by holding down Shift. Now I'm going to make it smaller and put it in place. I want it right here. That's perfect. Love it. I'm going to click it here. Same thing. Option to click and drag. To duplicate, edit, transform, flip horizontal now, not vertical. And now it's going to go side to side. And now I have this vignette, right? Now, you can get a little fancy with this. You see like there's this internal box here, right? Because it fades, fades, it fades, it creates this internal box. You can get rid of that to make it more of a circle. You just got to do a little something extra. So I'm going to show you a little something extra. You do not have to do this though, okay? So I'm going to delete, I'm going to delete one of each, this and this, okay? On this one right here, the top one, I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, and I'm going to go to Warp. Okay. Now I'm going to drag these side ones down. like that. And that's going to create a curve on the sides, like that. And I'm going to drag these ones up a little bit, just like that. Good. Now I have this like curved here. I'm going to do the same thing over here on this side. I click on this side one. Same thing. Edit, transform, warp. Drag that out. That's going to create a nice curve. Curve. Bring that in a little bit more. Bring that in a little bit more. I think it's kind of cool. Now I only need to do one per side. Now this one, I'm going to click, do the same thing. Duplicate, edit, transform, flip vertical. Over here, same thing. Option click, edit, transform, flip horizontal. Now I've created this vignetting, but notice that the interior looks more like circular, right? It's because I've curved those edges there, so it's not such a straight box. And that's kind of, it gets a little fancier with it. And you may say, you know, it's a little bit too light. I actually want it darker. Well, this is a good time now that you can take these layers. I'm going to hold down Shift and then click. And then you can either Control click and go to Merge Layers, or you come over here to this drop-down menu and go to Merge Layers. And now you can do pretty much anything you want. Adjustments, brightness, contrast. Lower the brightness if you want to make it a little bit darker. Up the contrast if you want to bring in some of that. I think that's kind of cool, just like that. Now, notice that a vignette, because it's darker around the edges, it brings all of your attention into the center, okay? Now, one step further, okay? I can do a couple little things. On this vignetting, I may want to get these edges to be even darker. And you can literally go through and just start like personalizing this vignette. And I think vignettes are a pretty cool way to just direct the viewer's eyes. So I'll make it a little bigger. I'm going to kind of knock just the corners of that. See that little knock of color that right there on the edge? I think that can go a long way. It just looks really nice. Boom. Maybe that was a little bit too much. That's okay. That's okay. Just like that. I think it's a cool way to kind of bring your eye into the center, to darken the edges. The other thing you could do, I'm going to create a new layer. Using that gradient tool, come up here. I'm just going to choose a white. This one also a white. But instead of a linear gradient, I'm going to choose a radial gradient. A new layer. Right beneath the head, I'm going to click and then drag out. You see how it creates that almost like this halo effect behind the character. And right now I can click and drag that halo to kind of create this even more of an exaggerated vignetting. And then I get this really nice vignette behind my character using, again, this vignette that I created with blue, and then this internal glow gradient that I created with just white. So that's it. I think this creates a much more, I don't know, interesting background. You can also now go in here and you can add imagery in here or a texture in here if you want to do something kind of cool. You can go really far with it, but much better than just a white background. Shows more, I guess, intrigue in your image. That's it.